Before the start of every new season in the NBA, one of the most fun things to do is predicting the winners of every NBA award, ranging from the Defensive Player of the Year to the Most Valuable Player of the Year. Looking at the race and the contenders who are vying to win each of them is always an interesting aspect, not only for the media but for the fans as well. There is almost always a surprise winner every year that not many people would have expected to win, so my list and predictions will not be anywhere close to perfect, but I will do my best to provide a clear reasoning for every pick, as well as taking into account a few honorable mentions that also have a good chance of sealing the award. So without further ado, let's go beyond the baseline. Let's start off with the Defensive Player of the Year, which is usually a slightly overlooked award, especially in the recent years because the contenders haven't been very flashy. However, we were treated to an intense race last year between one of the best defensive bigs of all time and a rookie who made an impact right out of the gate. And spoiler alert, the winner will be one of those two. This year, my honorable mentions include Jaren Jackson Jr., Anthony Davis, Drew Holiday, and last year's winner, Rudy Gobert. Yes, people, my pick for the Defensive Player of the Year for this upcoming season is Victor Wembanyama, the second-year Spur who's 7'3" and has insane potential on the defensive end. People were terrified of attacking the rim when he was on the court, and I think the only reason he even lost to Gobert is because of the team defense for the Spurs was not that good comparatively, and he did show areas where he was either overzealous or simply lacked a little bit of experience. I think both aspects will be better next year, and he'll edge out the battle against all the other talented defensive players in the league. Up next, we have the Sixth Man of the Year award, and this is the one that is always extremely hard to predict, simply because there are so many good options out there that can make the leap this season. For the honorable mentions, Dante DiVincenzo, Caris LeVert, Malik Monk, and Buddy Hield are all amazing players who have a great chance of winning because of their roles and their caliber. However, I believe Naz Reid has a really prime opportunity to repeat and win the award for the second consecutive year. He was integral last season for the Timberwolves, and his playoff performances leads me to believe that he still has room to improve. The role he's been given off the bench is irreplaceable for a team that places a lot of emphasis on their big man, and he can go toe-to-toe with any big man in the league if he's got it going from three. The Most Improved Player award is intriguing because there are two sets of players that are competing for this. On one hand, we've got players that have been fighting for an opportunity and finally take that big leap in their production, and on the other hand, you have players that have star potential and break out of their cocoons like butterflies. The honorable mentions go to Jonathan Kuminga, Scottie Barnes, Jalen Williams, and Jalen Johnson in this list, and I have a strong suspicion that the winner of the award will be Victor Wembanyama. It might seem crazy to some, but take a moment to think about it. With Chris Paul being added to the team, there's a good chance that Wemby will get far better looks than last season, which would up his production on the offensive end, and his defensive impact is already so crazy that even a small leap there would create an incredible jump in the numbers overall for the Enderman. That's why I don't think it's completely crazy to suggest that this could be the case, especially when we have seen guys like Ja Morant and Tyrese Maxey win it after blooming into a star. The Rookie of the Year race has never been so confusing, at least in the recent history. The last few years the race has been pretty obvious in terms of which players are going to be contending, but not a lot is expected from this draft class in terms of potential and instant production. Nevertheless, after some research, I have made my choice, and the honorable mentions go to Reed Shepherd, Zachary Risa-Sher, the first overall pick, Alexander Sarr, and Matas Buzelis. I'm going for a slightly safe yet slightly confusing pick in Zach Edey backing the award. I don't think he'll be the best player in the draft by any means, however, he did get drafted into a very good situation with the Memphis Grizzlies, as Ja Morant will be returning. Playing big minutes for a playoff team and contributing with all the little things may be enough to secure the award for him, due to the insecurities with the other pick. His length will allow him to guarantee a good amount of rebounds, defensive stops, and offensive production, all things considered, and that is enough in my opinion. The Clutch Player of the Year award is also one that is completely up for grabs, as it is determined by factors that are sometimes out of the player's control, such as the number of games that a team even has in the clutch, Teams that are extremely good or extremely bad may not face as many situations as others, which leads to limited opportunities. Either way, I do think that the pool of players in this is still limited, with the honorable mentions going to Luka Doncic, Stephen Curry, Damian Lillard, and Jalen Brunson. My vote goes to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for winning the award, because he showed great poise in the clutch in the playoffs last season, has been improving his game consistently, and his team is both good enough and young enough at the same time to find themselves in clutch situations at a decent rate. He definitely has that clutch gene that very few players in the league have, including the stars, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if he edges out all these other grades for this position. The penultimate award, the Coach of the Year, is one that I'll be completely honest in saying that I'm not too familiar with how good each coach is compared to another, as there are factors that can't be seen on television. One way is to predict the good teams, find the coach's reputation, and if they can improve enough from last season to justify it. So, my honorable mentions go to Joe Mazzulla, Nick Nurse, Ime Udoka, and Mark Daignault. I'll be going for a slightly outlandish selection in Jamal Mosley from the Orlando Magic to win this award. We saw how good this team's young core was last year, and they managed to make a little bit of noise in the playoffs by taking the Cavaliers to 7 games. If we take into account the improvement of that core and Mosley's reputation, I do think the Magic can finish with a better record than last year and give their coach a good chance of competing for the award. It's probably my craziest pick yet, but I am sticking to it. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for, the most valuable player, the MVP of the NBA. Every year we have amazing players fighting it out, with fans and the media picking favorites and promoting them. It's very rare for this race to be one-sided, with there being only one instance of a unanimous MVP being selected. Shout out Steph Curry, by the way. And I don't think that'll be the case this year. Last year was pretty much between 3 players, and Nikola Jokic managed to steal the award with his consistency, team record, and ridiculous advanced stats. I don't think the contenders will be very different this year either, with the honorable mentions going to SGA, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. This means that my pick for the MVP award for this upcoming NBA season is Luka Doncic, the 25-year-old phenom from Slovenia, who I think actually got robbed last year. The reason he only finished 3rd was the worst team record of the Mavericks compared to the other contenders, but what a lot of people failed to take into account was the fact that Dallas faced a significant amount of injuries in the first half of the season, which affected their win column. And they also had the 2nd best record in the league after making those changes at the trade deadline by bringing in PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford. This is further evidenced by the fact that the Mavs managed to reach the finals, going further than every other contender in the playoffs. I don't think team record will be an issue next season either, because they've made even further changes in the offseason, bringing in Klay Thompson, Quentin Grimes, and Najee Marshall, which gives Luka more firepower to work with while maintaining their defensive integrity. The media will run out of excuses for keeping the award away from him, and barring major injuries, I firmly believe Luka has the best chance out of anyone in the league of bagging the MVP award. And that, folks, brings us to the end of the video. Please let me know what you guys thought about my predictions, and if you disagree, who you think will win the awards instead. I'd love to hear more opinions on this matter, as it's near impossible to get every one of them right. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and consider subscribing. It's free. And I'll see you all in the next video, where we will go beyond the baseline.